Cafe Anyway. Hey everybody, it's
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Oh man, I had a wonderful song. Mike's Daily Podcast. That I had to scrub and stop and not play because I made a mistake. Oh, it's Mike Matthews, and I'd like to take this time to say we're at Cafe Anyway, somewhere in Podcast Row, Valleyton, and I have to say you have to know, unbelievably, I made a massive mistake. So Mike's Daily Podcast. I had to redo the beginning of the show. I was making fun of my name and how sometimes I am called Mark. Mike's. But I'm Mike Daily. I've been called Matt Podcast because it's Mike Matthews. Yeah. And I got like two first names, although my last name is a first name pluralized in the plural form, and all that's gone. That wonderful ramp up I had. What else did we discuss in the podcast that shall not be heard because I made a slight mistake? Well, let's see. Today, I guess we could jump right into it and say it is September 11th as I am recording this. And it was a big day for me. It was a big day for all of us. But what I remember about that day was I was working at a country station called Chely. And I worked in the evening, so I slept late because I'd get home like at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, get to sleep like at 3 or 4, and wake up really late. And all of this happened while I was sleeping. And I got a call from my girlfriend at the time, who later became my wife, who is no longer my wife, but she called and said, hey, a lot of crazy stuff is going on right now. Just know I love you and everything's going to be fine. They're very positive thoughts as I then turned on the TV and saw everything was going on. And yes, it was just...
And here's today's podcast picture.
I remember thinking that night, how do you even begin to process what happened today? I mean, now 20 years have gone by. We have some kind of handle on it mentally. Some of us weren't even alive when it happened. Or some of us were, but barely remember it. But the podcast picture is from what would be, I guess, Ground Zero. It's now Memorial Plaza in Basel. The late great Basel. Oh, that's what I was talking about in the podcast that you didn't hear. I was remarking on the wonderful podcast picture we had last time for the late great Basil the boxer. And he used to sit on that couch. The podcast picture actually last time was a view of him as I was doing my podcast, and he was smiling and he was sitting on this red couch, and it's at Cafe Anyway, and there you can see that picture at mikesdailypodcast.com. Today's picture, though, I took 12 years ago. That's right, 12 years ago, around September 11th. This is actually more around August is when I visited New York. And we actually went to, what is this area called? This is actually called the Winter Garden Atrium. And it is a mall, and there's a view overlooking what would have been called Ground Zero. And here on this date, when I was there, it had been about 8 years since the attack. And they were in the process of making it Memorial Plaza. Now it's a Memorial Plaza. It has the National September 11th Memorial and Museum. They've built a lot of interesting things here in New York at this spot. But overlooking it is the podcast picture, and as they were working on it, the 9/11 Memorial Glade, I think, is another part of what they are calling this, but basically Memorial Plaza. See it at mikesdailypodcast.com. But what I remember most about that was, that getting that call from her, that message that she left, and then turning on the TV and seeing everything going on. And then that night, I had to go to work that night. It was a Tuesday, as I recall. And I went to work. And my boss told me, because I did the Santa Fe Cafe, sort of what Cafe Anyway is modeled on. And the Santa Fe Cafe characters are now the Cafe Anyway characters, the podcast players here on Mike's Daily Podcast. And my boss said, you know what, you can't do that. You can't do that kind of theater of the mind comedic thing where you're taking requests from people and playing country songs. Tonight, no one's going to care about that. They're all going to be watching Fox News and CNN. So basically just play the music, don't talk. Which that is a bit, if you're coming in and you're live and this is before, oh, actually, no, I think we did have some sort of playlist playing system. You know how, I don't know if you do this. Everybody's got a spot. I guess people got Spotify playlists, or you play something, you know, back in the iPod days. Maybe you have it in your phone now. Maybe you've got some songs sitting in your phone, actual MP3s or what have you. And you could, you know, do a shuffle or whatever and listen to the songs playing in your phone. That's basically, we had that technology in 2001. It was early days, but we had this technology where the songs were recorded. Actually, we had to record them in real time. We couldn't rip them yet. And we'd have to, like you'd play the whole song like you would when you were recording an album onto a cassette. If you were recording a CD or something and you wanted it on a cassette, you'd have to record it as it was playing. Nowadays, you just rip it and it takes a couple seconds and you've got the whole. But nowadays, people don't even do it. They just go to Spotify, YouTube, Pandora, Apple Music, whatever else there is out there, and listen to the songs. So it was playing, and I basically had nothing to do because I couldn't talk. I guess I was taking calls. The smart thing to do would have been, hey, getting on the air and saying, hey, it's Mike. Actually, I went by Matt on the air there at KH, Matt Michaels. Hey, it's Matt Michaels. Tell me, we've gone through a lot today as a nation. What do you think? What would you like to say out to the people of New York and the people that were on those planes and to the families? What would you like to say tonight? You know, here, we'll play a song, maybe play a nice song, a request out to them. You know, The Dance by Garth Brooks or something inspirational in country music. Play that. We were playing the real patriotic songs on those days. I'm Proud to Be an American, God Bless the USA by Lee Greenwood, who I interviewed. And I think I have the interview at mikesdailypodcast.com if you want to hear that. It's in the interview section. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley. By the way, Lee Greenwood did re-record the song and did it a little more mellow, less with the marching drums thing going on, which I think makes the song sound great because it sounds like a national anthem marching song, something you'd hear at the beginning of you do hear it at the beginning of football games and such, but he did it in a more mellow way. A very nice guy, Lee Greenwood. and several years after, this was several years after 9/11, but he enjoyed when I had all the characters on the Santa Fe Cafe. He did his own. He did a great Donald Duck impression, as I recall. But we were playing that and other patriotic songs. What's the Johnny Cash one? The Ragged Old Flag one? And we play Ray Charles and America, God Shed Her Grace on Me. His grace on, wait, that one? Can't think of the words. America, that one. Well, Ray Charles sings it much better than I do. And crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shiny sea. Wow, I need to sing that song again. We were playing that. We were playing the national anthem, Whitney Houston's national anthem. Wow. America the Beautiful is a long song. Written by Catherine Lee Bates, melody by Samuel Ward. God, America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shiny sea. There are at least, how many more verses? Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 verses to that song. The last one being, O beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, till nobler men keep once again thy whiter jubilee? Wow. I did not know that. Yes, so then Charlie Daniels had an interesting song. Well, something, Charlie Daniels, America, what was it? He had, instead in America. In America, that's it. We're proud. He's gone now, Charlie Daniels. He passed away last year. Oh, and then he also had that one, this is a flag, not a rag, and I forget the rest of that song, but yes. And you never did think that it would happen again in America, did you? That's his lyrics in America, Charlie Daniels. From the sound up in Long Island out to San Francisco Bay and everything that's in between them is our own. And we may have done a little bit of fighting amongst ourselves, but you outside people best leave us alone, because we'll all stick together and you can take that to the bank. That's the cowboys and the hippies and the rebels and the Yanks. You just go and lay your hand on a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and I think you're going to finally understand. And you never did think that it would happen again in America, did you? You never did think that we'd ever get together again. We damn sure could. Yeah, we're walking real proud and we're talking real loud again in America. You never did think that it would happen again. Charlie Daniels song. Yeah, he wrote that. Okay, very patriotic guy, Charlie Daniels. It's Mike Matthews. I had to get into that little bit there and just say, it was an interesting time to be in radio when 9/11 happened, because there was all of this, what do we do? What do we do? What's going on? What's happening? It's one of those big shocks that happened to a nation. Almost 3,000 people died. And then last year we had COVID. And it was a lot of, what do we do? What's going on? What's happening? We readjust as Americans and have to try to get used to something that it's just a shock, and it's amazing what we do as Americans and how we adjust. But yeah, it was a time. There was something very interesting. I remember it came out years later that there was a huge radio conglomerate that had a lot of music stations, and they told their disc jockeys, their programmers, not to play certain songs because they thought that it would cause a stir, that would sound too, it would offend the listeners somehow after 9/11. I think one of the songs was that one by Bruce Springsteen, Whoa, I'm on Fire. And that was a stretch. That was, wait, what? Huh? How does that even... Bruce Springsteen would later come out with a song that was an anthem for New York. It was called The Rising. That whole album was like a tribute to New York. So that's 20 years ago. Wow. 20 years ago that happened, and just thinking a little bit about that today. And about being in that spot in New York, seeing that about 8 years after it happened. And I've heard stories since then from people that lived in New York that I've known personally, that actually were there when it happened. How? What a nightmare. Horrible. And one of them was telling me that one of the towers was coming down, and she ran into one of those alcoves, one of those entrances that was an indentation into a building that you could, get in and hide, because there was no other place to go. And they went there and they held each other, even though they didn't know each other. And one of them was from Jamaica. And she said to my friend, let's pray. And they just prayed and prayed as the building came down. And after it fell and, all the dust cleared and everything, they got out of there they got out of there. And I don't know if you remember that day that everybody was heading back over the bridges. All traffic had stopped. People were walking over the bridges, going back home. Someone I spoke to was not even in the country when it happened. They were actually in North Korea when it happened. And they didn't find out about it till a couple days later because, well, there's just no news. It's all propaganda in North Korea. And gosh, I told him it's amazing they didn't try and rub it in your faces, you being an American in North Korea, being the adversary. And he said, oh, they didn't even know. The people they were with didn't even know. It was something that, just the people at the top of the government in North Korea knew. But just hearing a lot of stories, and it is something, I know it's cliche at this point, but we shouldn't ever forget, because it was such a horrible day, and it could happen again. We just have to realize that no matter how good things get, things can go wrong, but we can get through it. Look where you are today. Look at yourself right now. Here we are. And you're outside a cafe anyway, is where we are. And, we should be thankful for when things are good and going good. And be smart. Like this, for example, masks, for the time being, a part of everyday life. And it still is. There's a few tips from the experts at Johns Hopkins to minimize some common problems associated with mask maintenance. Because especially here in the Bay Area, we are still wearing masks if we go do any sort of indoor public event. And I saw in Florida, if you're going to ride any of the rides at Disneyland, I think you still have to wear a mask, but you don't have to when you're outside of the ride. If you develop any skin irritation or blemishes, use a gentle cleanser when you wash your face in the morning. You can use fragrance-free detergents to wash your mask, and over-the-counter hydrocortisone cream once or twice a day can help. Make sure your makeup is labeled that's a weird word. I guess it's comedogenic? I don't know. If the problem persists for more than a week or two, make an appointment with a dermatologist. Reusable masks can be washed in your regular laundry using hot water. Disposable masks should be thrown away when visibly soiled or damaged. Cut the elastic ear straps from disposable masks before discarding, as hundreds of tangled animals they've had to be rescued. And I'm seeing so many times on the streets masks just thrown, and they look like masks that have never been worn. And they're just lying there because they're they're flat still, like they haven't been bent around the nose, on the top of the ridge of the nose. I see them just lying on the street sometimes, in parking lots, on the sidewalk. It's a form of litter I don't like, and animals can be hurt with this setup, so be careful with that. And I would say, when you see these masks, to pick them up, but I don't have a really official smart way of picking up the mask, other than just picking it up with your hand and washing your hand afterwards. I wouldn't eat a sandwich after picking up one of those masks that are on the ground. Maybe it hasn't been worn by anyone. Maybe it has. In any case, it's on the ground, so you know it's dirty. In any case, it'd be nice if more of us were brave enough to just pick up those masks and throw them away. It'd be great if the majority of us were smart enough not to even discard those on the ground in the first place. But there it is. And that is from Costco Connection. And that is from an issue I have used over and over again. So I'm going to chuck this now across there. I threw it across the yard here at Cafe Anyway in the patio. And finally, some ideas to jumpstart your creativity. Practice having ideas and associated thoughts. Creativity is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets, and the more you can lift. Creativity is combining old ideas in new ways. You can practice having ideas with anything. Start making a list of ideas. Write down places to visit, books to write, interesting sounding jobs, things that would look horrible in green, even horrible shades of green. See where some free association will get you. Collect your best ideas on index cards. When you need a new one, draw 2 index cards from the pile and mix. So when you need ideas, you can mix and match from the index because you're writing them on index cards, I guess. You know what? To me, that's a waste of paper. Every day we're still bombarded by paper. I get junk mail. What do I do with the junk mail? I take the piece of paper out of the letter, and you know how letters, when they're folded into like 3 sections. I take it and basically, if I look at the back of the letter and see if it's blank, and I go, oh, I can write on that. That is a blank sheet of paper. And I will take it and I'll rip it into 3 pieces, the 3 little rectangular sections where the fold crease was before. And now I've got scratch paper. And you know what? It's about the same size as an index card. Generally. Kinda. But there, I can hold it like an index card. It works perfect. Why are we wasting so much paper? Start ideas from an unrelated field. Stealing is bad. You're not allowed to just copy what others are doing. Actually, you can, because I'm reading this right from a website called mindnode.com. So mindnode.com is saying, embarrassingly, you probably wouldn't do it as well as they've had more practice. Then again, why would you want to anyway? Copying others. Straight copying is boring. Looking at something that seems completely unrelated and creatively seeing how that applies to you and what you do, however, that's different. Say you're working on a workshop and you want to present, what if for a moment you pretended to be an astrophysicist studying the stars? Imagine how you would approach their questions and see if you can apply the same approach to your workshop as well. The other suggestions made by mindnode.com, and this was written by Paula at Mindnode. You could talk to a friend. You don't have to do it alone. And that applies to so much in life, you know. Going through the very difficult times, the shocking times, maybe as shocking as what we were discussing earlier in the podcast, you need friends. You need a group to talk to. So that is the same with creativity. Sometimes explaining to someone where you're at and how you're struggling is enough to figure out the next step to take. Take a walk or do the dishes. Part of that is that the motion gets the ideas moving. Dance it out. Scientists are known for being dry and factual, and yet every year there is a science dance-off where scientists describe their projects in interpretive dance. What if instead of writing, you set out to dance before you write? If dancing's not your thing, how about you paint your business plan? Or just get out paper and pen to handwrite. Working in a different way lets our brain look at a problem in a new way. And when you're stuck, that's always good to try a new way. Rephrase the question, maybe, if you're trying to answer a question, a problem. When you rephrase the question or problem, you're taking on a new perspective, and sometimes that makes all the difference. Change your place. That can help change your luck. There's an old Jewish saying that says that changing your place changes your luck. Experiment and see what happens when you sit on the floor or stand on your chair, or maybe go outside, go down the road, turn left, sit at your favorite cafe with your favorite beverage, maybe cafe anyway. Just the smallest, tiniest little piece of cake, just a little bite. Write a bad first draft first. Nothing kills our creative flow like the internal pressure to produce something perfect from the first keystroke. If what you wrote down and then you started were preserved in perpetuity, maybe you wouldn't touch the keyboard again. So try writing something bad first, and then next time you stare at a blank page, challenge yourself to write the worst possible first draft. You get extra points for every spelling mistake and every unnecessary adjective. Editing is far easier than original writing. Ernest Hemingway said that the first draft of anything is not good, but he used a different word, a little more colorful. Talk to your creative blocks. Often our creative blocks have overblown expectations of our perfection. Ask what it wants. Listen. You can imagine it as a creature with a voice blocking your way. Learn about what they are, then allow them to dissipate. Your creative blocks mean well, but generally they don't understand that safety and success are not mutually exclusive. And take a nap. If nothing else helps, a nap is a surefire way to renew your energy and change your perspective. When we stop holding on to our shoulds and musts so tightly, our unconscious has time to noodle the project and sort itself so you can get up and go to it later. Cara Woods wrote this. Oh, wait, no, Cara Woods did not write this. Sorry. She, I guess, supplied the photo of a bunch of paintbrushes, but Paula wrote this at mindnode.com. And you know what? There were a lot of spelling problems with that post, but hey, I guess it gets you in the right direction of creativity. Yes, I like some of that advice. Now, what? Larry Elder prepares for voter fraud. He prepares for California recall loss with lawyers, and he's got a voter fraud website up already. Wow, Larry. Hey, we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Look who's here right now. Is it Larry? No, it's not.
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, the gift shop supervisor. That was really helpful, today's podcast. It was like a lot of things all mixed into one, Mike Matthews. Thank you.
You're welcome. Look who else is here.
Hello, Mike. This is Floyd the Floorman.
And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, it's starting to feel like fall. Yes, fall is great. I can't wait for a little bit of fall and for pumpkins that are... Gosh, I still got the same pumpkin from last year. We got this really nice pumpkin in Half Moon Bay, and it's still sitting on the porch. It has survived a whole year. It's amazing. I got to get over to Half Moon Bay. So I got 2 cats now. One's named Patches. I'm thinking of calling him Pumpkin Patches. And then there's Rodler, of course, named after a German beer. And I'm going to leave Cafe Anyway and head over to there. But next show, it will be the wonderful Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, the Brewmaster. You can chime in about anything we covered. 336MM daily. 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews, because that's my name, and not Mark. And daily as in what this podcast will try to be occasionally. I got interrupted. I was interrupted for the past 3 days because of stuff going on. Stuff. Good old stuff. So good luck with all your stuff, is what I'm telling you. And stay positive and keep creating. And here's A-Frame taking us out. And if you'd like to listen to the radio program that I do, I will have it on in the morning from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can catch it at the link at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!